Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining for the another Learn and Grow series meetup. I'm your host, Pinky Loomba, and today we have a special guest. Actually, he's a celebrity guest. His name is Jason Wright. He is the active campaign guru. So first of all, welcome, Jason.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Of course. So a little bit about Jason. Jason is focused on sales, funnel strategy, and architecture for real estate investors and entrepreneurs who want, excuse my voice today, who want more leads, engagement, and their list, and ultimately sales. His program and his team, they specialize in Active Campaign and Zapier. They help a lot of folks in the real estate industry. And today our topic is sales, funnel strategy, and architecture for real estate investors. So welcome again, Jason. I'm super excited to have you with us. So I'm not sure if you have a PowerPoint or you wanted to do a Q&A. It's kind of a free portal, whatever way you like to start.
Yeah, I don't have a PowerPoint. So what I can do is I think the audience will get the most out of it if it's somewhat interactive. But I'll say a couple things just from working with a bunch of real estate investors that I think are interesting. So two biggest areas that I see marketing automation being able to impact real estate investors are as follows. The first is if you have a new call, well, I guess there's really three. If you get somebody new on your list and they've obviously expressed an interest in something you're doing, right? They've come into a lead magnet or you've met them at a conference or something, having automation set up to nurture them and try to get that call. Most people I talk to might try once or twice and give up and move on to somebody else. There's a lot of missed opportunity there. Takes a lot more touch points than you think for somebody to build a little trust, build a little interest, and want to get on a call with you. Okay. So there's one area that marketing automation can help. And I don't think a lot of people are taking advantage of that. The next area that comes to mind is, let's say you have a call with a potential new investor, and whether you have a deal or if you don't, either way, if they don't make any decisions or don't commit to anything on that first call, most people might reach out to them one more time again or won't reach out to them again at all because a lot of newer capital raises or smaller companies just don't have the bandwidth to do everything, right? They're trying to do marketing and sales and investor relations and all these different things, and they get lost in the shuffle. And I've experienced the very same thing when I was growing my business. So nurturing people after an initial call to get them committing to something in the process, whether it's getting on a webinar for a deal, or whether it's, getting in your investor portal if you're raising money for yourself, et cetera, et cetera. And then during a raise, it really blows my mind that so many people will either pick up the phone and start calling investors for a new deal, and that's the only thing they do, or they'll send out one email. Here's the deal. And then they sit back and hope and pray. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of those emails may never reach the people you want them to reach, right? Or they may be busy and one time's not enough. So using marketing automation with email, with two-way text, and announcing deals that way, and then nurturing people kind of through each step of the raise is really helpful. And people have been getting really, really good results, especially when it comes to nurturing for that soft commitment. So many people I talk to do nothing at all to get soft commitments. They just sit back and wait. They just hope it happens. It's like, let's pursue it. Let's follow up with people. Let's try to get a conversation started or going again. So with all that being said, is anybody here using a CRM, and is anybody using marketing automation for any of those things I've talked about?
I'm pretty sure everybody has some sort of CRM in place, and maybe a lot of them have Active Campaign, and that's your forte anyways. So I wanted to step back for a second. If you can start from just the CRM or, what exactly CRM is. Excuse my voice today. And what is the benefit of having a CRM? Let's, start from the bare basics first. Then we'll dwell into, automation and marketing, because some things could be like really, really high level. So unless the bases are clear, it does not make sense sometimes. So if you don't mind just, starting just basic CRM, Active Campaign, or why Active Campaign over other CRMs out there?
Yeah, so CRM's a customer relationship management software. Basically, it allows you to keep track of the people on your email list, right? How they came in, what lists they've been on, maybe any notes you've taken, phone numbers, et cetera. So It lets you build up data on your individual contacts, and it's really helpful, right? If you get a new investor and you get more new investors and you start to pay attention to kind of what path they came through your world or through your funnel, it can be really, really helpful for you. So from a high level, that's a CRM. A lot of times people will confuse a portal with a CRM. Not really the same thing. There's some things that overlap, but a marketing CRM should not be a replacement for a portal and vice versa. Now, why Active Campaign? Honestly, HubSpot's more powerful, but it's also more expensive and more complicated. And people with this stuff, it's hard enough for them to wrap their mind around it. So I like Active Campaign because it's affordable, it's powerful. I've been using it for almost 8 years, and we can teach it and train on it as well. So I think it checks a lot of boxes for people. When people talk about like a MailChimp or a Constant Contact, they're going to be a lot more limited as far as a CRM or what they can do, but hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. And you mentioned something, portal CRM. What is that, portal CRM?
So an investor portal. So if people are using,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes people will confuse the two, like say, oh, they're one and the same, but they're definitely separate tools that both have value. So
yeah, both has value, but the thing is, investor portal, you can still send the emails from there, but the only difference is you cannot automate the emails.
Yeah, and you're not going to have the ability to do some of the cool stuff with, text messaging and even ringless voicemail and all these different things you can do with a program like Active Campaign. So it's a much more basic, much more limited emailing platform.
So let me ask you this question. When you're comparing the two, the investor portal and the Active Campaign with all the automations and you can set up the email drip system that you're going to talk about, in the next few minutes. So, but all those features are not there in investor portal, but still sometimes people think, why do I need to manage two portals, or why do I need to pay for two services? It is the same pool of investors, at one place you have maybe thousands, at one place maybe you have hundreds, but it's the same people that are sitting in my CRM.
Yeah.
And people get scared or hesitant too that I'm sending a bunch of emails to my same investors who are like active investors already. So what do you do about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in one deal as an LP now, and I'll be honest, the only emails I get from the sponsor that I'm working with is deal updates, monthly deal updates, and I can tell those come from the portal, but anything about new deals or new information always comes from their Active Campaign account, and it's for good reason, right? There's so much more of an ability to customize the messaging and how it looks with Active Campaign. There's so much more data. You can see, customer journey more clearly from the marketing side. And like marketing never really ends, right? You get people into your world, you'll build up that know, like, and trust. And even if somebody invests with you once, obviously you want them to invest again and ultimately bring more of their investor friends with them. So it's a journey that never really ends, but I find that it's most effectively done from a tool made for that. So hope that makes sense.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about Active Campaign. I think Ruben was talking in the middle when I was talking. Ruben, did I talk over you? I'm sorry. You had a question?
No, it wasn't a question. He was asking which campaigns we use or which CRMs. I mentioned Active Campaign.
Oh, okay. So let's move on to Active Campaign, Jason. I'm going to ask you all the questions about Active Campaign, and I'm going to put you maybe in the gallery view so everybody can chime in if anybody has any questions if they're using Active Campaign. So I'm pretty sure they have some questions there. So in Active Campaign, I know, let's start with the list. There is an option for you to create different kind of lists, add people into your database, and you can set up the lists or tags. That way you can segregate people or put them to certain buckets. So how you wanted to nurture them or how you wanted to work with them. If you can shed some light on that, what is the best way of doing it?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a common one. There's really three ways to organize people, and I'll start with the most broad and go more narrow. So lists are the most basic ways. I always kind of talk to capital raisers and say, like, you have a master list, which is everybody, and it's not a hard, fast rule, but it's an easy thing to teach. And then you have either prospects or people that have invested or said they want to. So those two groups added together kind of equal everybody. So that's the most basic way to organize people. Some people will organize by deal and that type of thing as well. I like the idea of the prospect list and the investor list. And if somebody has invested in a deal, then you can create identifier for that deal, 123 Maple Street or whatever it may be, so that if you want to drill down and see more detail on like what people have done, if they've done anything at all, you can. So lists are the most broad way to group people. Tags are kind of like digital post-it notes, right? Gives you a little bit more information. And then a neat feature that people don't use very much, but they really could and should, it's called list segments, right? It's like, okay, anybody who's on the investor list who also has these 3 tags, just show me them. That's a list segment. So it does allow you to get very, very granular and focused with the groups that you put together, which is great. You know, the more relevant you can make your messaging to a certain group, the better. But to keep it simple, you know, lists to start, and then using some tags where you met people at events, what they've invested in, et cetera, is a good way to start.
So a follow-up question on that is, I recall when I was working initially with Active Campaign, I had a bunch of lists. I had like 3, 4, 5 lists. And then I had a one-on-one call with Active Campaign. I was told, oh, no, you're doing it wrong. You should just have tags. You should have master list, and then you have a tags. And then my issue was when I am setting up a new campaign or I do the automation, I couldn't send the email from the tag. So I couldn't figure it out. So I went back to the list. Yeah. So is there a way to just keep one master list and then email the campaigns to based on the tags only, or no?
I'll be honest with you. I think the advice they gave you was terrible advice because it doesn't make any sense, right? So at the end of the day, it has to make sense in your mind. Like everybody in this call is going to have a little bit different ways on what makes sense in their mind to be organized. So you can tailor it that way. In my account right now, I have about 10 lists. 8 of them are different ways that people get into my account, different lead magnets and things like that. One of them is my welcome series list where people get subscribed the first time they come in, they get introduced to the company, and the final list is the master. So in my mind, it makes sense. It's clean. It's easy. But Active Campaign is a software company. So the people you're talking to, they're not marketers, right? And that's why they give a lot of bad advice because they're telling you what their manager said, but their manager's not a marketer either. So it doesn't make any sense. So I apologize for them. It's just bad advice. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're right. I think I like that better, the list, because it's easy to manage for me. And I can see from the name who's in there versus just I have tags to and lists to both. And the other thing I wanted to ask you over here is you just mentioned that you have different funnels created where the people are coming into your database or to your master list, joining the list. How does the funnels work? Is there an integration feature that you're using within Active Campaign or using Zapier? Because there's like outside external tools too that you can connect with Active Campaign and meetups or whatever webinars, whatever you're trying to do, like for example, your Zoom or your Eventbrite, whatever portal that you're using to advertise. If you can shed some light on that. And Jason, if you don't mind, if you can share your screen, the Active Campaign, that'll be even awesome. So people can, see what we're talking about because visualization is really important as well.
Yeah, I apologize for not doing that sooner. I don't know what I was thinking. I always share my screen. So you guys can see my screen here. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So to answer your questions, let me do this. So this is my my account for my digital marketing business here. Let me just show you what I was talking about earlier with the lists, right? It's just really simple. And this is a tip I'll give you. However you organize or however you label your lists, make sure it's something that makes sense. All of my number ones are ways that people come into the account. Number 2 is where they go next. Number 3 is where they end up. In my mind, it's easy. Now, a mistake people make is they'll have these list names that are a combination of numbers and letters and symbols. And I'll be like, what does that mean? They're like, I don't remember. Uh-oh. Or somebody else in my team did it and they're not here anymore. And then if you can get a ton of lists and you don't even know what they mean. Same thing with tags. With tags, you can add a little description. And I just encourage people make very easy to understand tags and add a description for the same thing I just said. If a year goes by and things happen, you look back and you don't know what tags mean, they're no good to you. Now you've got people that I don't know who these people are, right? So there's some good tips there because with tags, I've seen people with thousands and none of them make any sense to me or them. And then it's like, now what do we do? So what was I showing you? Did you ask me a question I didn't answer?
Yeah, you were talking about the list and the tags and how you integrate with the
Oh, got it.
other portals.
Yep. So there's different ways. I forgot my handy whiteboard up here now. There's different ways that people come into my list, and I'll share this with you because these will give you ideas as well. So the simplest would be an active campaign form. They also have a feature called Pages. It's a really basic landing page builder, but it's basically a fancy active campaign form. And the nice thing about them is somebody opts in, it obviously integrates with the CRM very easily. So they're immediately into your CRM. It's very easy to do. So I use some of those. One of my favorite ways of getting people on my list is it starts with the call, actually. So Calendly integrates cleanly with Active Campaign. So if somebody sets up a new call with me, it goes right into the CRM as well. I've also got ClickFunnels. So it's just a landing page builder. It's one I used to work with a lot for clients. I don't anymore, but it's familiar to me, and it integrates with Active Campaign as well. So and I can show you some of these examples, but it's an easy way to get people in. And if I go to a conference, I'm usually giving out cards and not taking many, right? Because I'm the weird guy in the room. So a lot of people want to talk to me. So I'll enter those people manually. I'll just create a new contact and pop them in. But if I show you what some of these different options look like, just to give you an idea, obviously you guys probably know Calendly. But Calendly is a great lead magnet. Nobody thinks of it that way. But if I'm going to give you some of my time, like I need some stuff from you. And if you're going to talk to a potential investor, I would want to know, what are their goals? Are they accredited or not? There's the things I'd want to know before somebody books a call, but so few people do it. All of this info goes right in Active Campaign, right? So Calendly is a really important one, a good one. Even my podcast is a funnel, right? For both the guests and for the people that listen to it. Everything's a funnel, right? Name and email, and you get into my list that way. Anything that you're doing of value for your audience, you should be getting something in return. So here's a lead magnet built in ClickFunnels, right? Teaching people like you how to use video lead magnets instead of ebooks to get passive investors, right? And this integrates right into Active Campaign. So
where do you post this?
So this is on ClickFunnels, custom domain on this and everything, getmorepassiveinvestors.com. But you can use WordPress, you can use whatever you want. Just whatever you're comfortable with or whatever your web person is comfortable with as far as a landing page builder. Okay. But you got to think beyond, like I have this on here for fun to prove this point, the newsletter opt-in, and I have one, but like the conversion rate of any of these is going to be about 0.5%. Nobody really wants another newsletter. Even if they really like you and they love what you're doing, it's because we all get so much email already. So this is not a good way to get people on your list. It's not special, right? So I put it on there just to test. I'll get somebody like once a quarter, but nobody gets a lot of the newsletter. But really the value comes into, funnels. So here's a funnel where I have a training, right? This is ClickFunnels. And I'm going to tell capital raisers the 3 biggest pain points in their marketing because I have the conversation every day. Right. And I get their info, they watch the video, it prompts them to book a call with me at the end, and it works. So, you over time, you start building things up. I do have a capital raising business as well. We have a short-term rental fund. This is weird. I have no lead magnet yet because I haven't had time to build it, but people keep opting into my newsletter and I have no idea why. I think they're just curious to see what I'm up to. But again, you got to think bigger than the ebook or bigger than the newsletter or the contact us form, right? It's not dynamic enough. I have one form on that site for people that are serious about doing something. You call it like an investor club form or something like that. And this is an Active Campaign form, right? If somebody completes this, they're probably pretty serious about doing something. So bells and whistles go off in my world if somebody completes that, and try to get them on a call and see what they're up to, see what they want to do. So having some kind of invest now form is a good idea as well. All right. I've been doing tons of talking. What questions?
So let's go back. You were talking about the integration piece. So if you can show us how to set up the integration within Active Campaign or maybe through Zapier.
Okay. So Zapier, for anybody that doesn't know, it is an automation tool that can help connect softwares that may not connect natively. It can also be a more powerful connection with other softwares that do connect natively. So what that means is you might have, for example, Active Campaign and ClickFunnels. They integrate with each other directly, but by using Zapier, there's even more things you can do between the two, which kind of doesn't make sense. But in Active Campaign, this apps menu down here is where you're going to set up most things that directly integrate. So it'll give you a bunch of options, and then this connected apps feature will kind of show you what's currently hooked up. So I've got all these hooked up. I've got more stuff through Zapier, but yeah, Typeform, I use that for my podcast. That is another lead magnet. Eventbrite would be another lead magnet as well once I create an event. And then Calendly's a monster for me. The other place in Active Campaign, which is confusing, so there's apps and there's a place called integrations, and they kind of the same thing, but in integrations, there's only about 5 options, and it's mostly e-com and a Facebook audience as well. But I don't do e-com, so I just have a Facebook audience there. You can actually do some pretty neat stuff with retargeting with your automations in Facebook and do some pretty next level stuff though. So, but I don't want to make this too complicated.
So let's move on to deals. If nobody has any questions on integration, then people already have the integration in place or need help, they can reach out to Jason for that. Yep. So how do you set up deals? So deal is, you can create it automatically too when the people entering your funnel, or you can do it manually. If you can walk us through that process and how you can create different phases of the deal.
Yeah, so
as well, sorry.
Yep, no problem. So capital raisers, I usually set them up. So we offer a project for this stuff, but we pretty much set them up with 3 types of pipelines. The first is called investor prospects. We set it up for a 506B or C, so accredited or non-accredited investors. And the idea is you have these different deal stages, and as you move from left to right, it's basically customer journey, right? Pipeline customer journey. They get closer to, investing with you. So we run them through a welcome series automation. We put them in another automation that creates this little deal card, and it's going to nurture them to book a call. They book a call after the first email, the rest shut off and they move forward. So all that's automated. And then this can change greatly depending on your business. If you're a co-GP and you just raise money for other people, you're not going to have a portal, so that won't make sense further down. But you might have people that say, you know what, next time we have a deal, I want to hear about it. I'm real serious. So for those type of people, you just move them up here to 1, pop them right in your investor list and be done. Other people that aren't really sure what they think of you, you can drop them into this shared future investment strategy deal stage, and it will nurture them to get that commitment out of them. So there's different options. If you have your own portal, you're raising your own money for your own deals, you can nurture people to even sign up for your portal. Hey, it's free, it's easy, it lets you see our deal flow. So it's just an opportunity to get people a little bit closer to investing. And this is really a one-time journey. They come into the account, they work through as far as they do, and they go to the main list. So most people are not doing any of this stuff. Somebody comes in, they give them an email with the ebook, and then that's it. They don't know what to say, so they say nothing at all. So I literally have the conversation all the time with people. So from a high level, that's kind of how that starts. The active capital raise is pretty dang powerful. This will give you an idea. Let's say you're doing a raise for a syndication. If you like live webinars, we can nurture people to join your webinar, send them up to 5 emails to do it. As soon as they sign up, and shut the automation off and kind of move them forward. So you're kind of seeing people move forward in this pipeline. You'll do your webinar, and hopefully if you do webinars, you do them live, because the Q&A is really powerful. And at the end of that, you're hoping to get soft commitments, right? And if you get soft commitments and pop in the dollar amounts of these deals and move them forward, and we'll kind of tally it up. And then you're going to see a ton of people who you announced a deal to that you haven't heard from. You're going to see people who registered from the webinar you haven't heard from. And let's say 3 or 4 days go by and you're doing what you normally do, might be picking up the phone or sending emails individually. You're going to drop these people just like that into this nurture for soft commitment. It's going to trigger an automation using email and 2-way text, and it's going to try to get some conversation started for you. An email might sound like this. Hey, Jason, did you see our webinar we did 4 days ago? So talking about this great new property in Houston that we're excited about. It's multifamily. Check out the link to this replay if you didn't see it. 15 minutes later, a text message might go out and might say, hey, Jason, did you get the email I sent you 15 minutes ago? If not, let me know. Something that simple. People aren't getting messages like that from other capital raisers. They're going to be like, I'm curious, right? Because it sounds like friends and family. It's very conversational, and people respond so much better than that than traditional marketing emails. It's crazy. So that is happening while you're doing whatever it is you already do. And I think you see how that could be helpful for you. I actually had a buddy of mine. His name is Socket Jane. And he told me, I just saw him 2 days ago. He told me that the last time he did a raise and used this, he got 700K in soft commits from one text. One guy committed 400 and one guy committed 300. And he's like, these guys have never invested with me before. I was like, that's great, man. He said they had a couple questions in text, and they filled out my soft commitment form. I was like, sweet. So there's some money you got, and you didn't even have to do much for it. Now, is that going to happen every time? No, but it stacks the odds in your favor by making those different touch points. So if somebody does soft commit and they're in that automation, you just move them here and it shuts it off. And we actually take it further and we say, let's nurture them for paperwork and wiring money. And I know like at this point, some portals will do that as well, but the portals aren't letting you do it with two-way text. They're not letting you have the control over the automation that you can have here. You guys all see how that could be helpful with a raise?
Mm-hmm. But this is all manual though, right? When you're moving at different levels. So
it's manual up to the point of the soft commit. Now, if you use an active campaign form for a soft commit, you can make it automated. But beyond that, active campaign's not going to know people sign paperwork or wiring money. You have to tell it. And the amount of people that are doing that as you go from right to left keeps going way, way down. So it's not a lot of time or a lot of effort to keep moving people like that.
So, but I don't understand one thing over here. So when you do, let's say you did the deal webinar, for that, you created like 5 sequence email for that. Mm-hmm. And then you're following with people with the email and the text messages. So what's the point of having deal structure here over here for that? Isn't that enough for us to have the email drip for that particular webinar? Or just like it's addition to that, just for our records, like where they are in the deal or on the prospective deal? That's the way you want it to have?
So the nurture for the webinar is obviously to get them to learn about the deal and give them the chance for the Q&A. But after the webinar is over, if people go quiet, you're trying to get, obviously you want the soft commitments, but you've got to make more touch points to get the conversation started or going again. So that's why there's 5 automations behind these different steps. We're nurturing, instead of just one big process, we've broken it down into smaller ones so that you have the ability to encourage and nurture people in each little step forward.
So I think, let me reiterate my question. So this is in the deal pipeline.
This is a raise specific pipeline. You would clone.
Yeah, it's a raise specific pipeline. Yeah. But the thing is that the automation that you're creating, that's in the automation, right? Like the 3 email sequence or 5 email sequence after the webinar. Hey, did you check out the webinar? Hey, where are you?
Yeah,
the text messages and all that. That's in the automation. So I was trying to understand the correlation between that sequence and this sequence and the deal structure.
Yeah, so I'm using, and I don't know if this answers your question, I'm using deal stages to trigger end-to-end automations. So just by dropping somebody there, it starts that automation, and for moving it here, it shuts it off. So
you're using the trigger for the automation for that. Okay.
Yeah, so deal stages is a great way. Deal pipelines in general are great because they're visual. A lot of information quickly, but using the different stages to turn things on and off behind the scenes, it's beautiful. It keeps it really simple, really clean, and really relevant. So
you do that for webinar, I mean, when you have the active deal, and also you do it in generic too, when somebody's entering your pipeline, you have at different levels for the deal so that you can trigger the automations, right?
Yeah, where these little labels are, when it says automated, people will get to those stages automatically. But again, active campaigns are never going to know that, in the case that you're raising money for your own deals, they're never going to know that somebody's responded to an email and said, yeah, I'll sign up for your portal. They will know if somebody signed up for your portal. So you talked about Zapier earlier. If you're using a big, well-known investment portal like Cashflow Portal or Syndication Pro or InvestNext, you can actually set up a zap that says, hey, if somebody signs up here and they're an active campaign too, we can just go ahead and move them out of this pipeline. So you can do some simple stuff like that with with a bigger portal for sure. But some steps you can't automate because there's no way to tell Active Campaign it happened because it's out of their system.
Interesting. So what else can you use this deal portal for, all this phase of the Active Campaign?
Yeah, so I also use it for keeping in touch with investors. So I set it up for my clients because a lot of people are doing their own investor relations. And it's just really for the people, and this is most people, but not everybody. It's really for the people that see the value in maintaining those relationships beyond deal announcements and deal updates, right? If you actually want to like get to know your people, this pipeline is fully automated. And here's how it works. So if you add somebody to your investor list the first time, make some little card here, 90 days later, and you can change that time, it moves them here and just says touch point needed. It will automatically create a task for you. It's all internal. Say whatever you want to. Call this person, whatever you want to do, and it will show up on your dashboard under your tasks. So if you're a one woman or one man show, or even just a couple of you, you can see that task. You can call the person, call it complete, and then they'll automatically move in this pipeline from touch point needed to touch point complete, and automatically reset every 90 days. So this pipeline is fully automated. I was able to build all that. And it's just a design to kind of give you that visual reminder that, hey, these people need to be contacted or whatever you want to do. But the sky's the limit. If you can articulate something you want built, you can build an Active Campaign.
Awesome. I love it. Okay. Any questions on the deals? Anybody?
I know it's information overload, guys. I know it's like drinking out of a fire hose. That's a normal response to what I just showed you.
That's awesome. So if nobody has a question, can we move on to the automations? Jason, if you can shed some light on that, please.
Okay. What would you like to see about automations?
Like how to set up the automations and how that helps you in your day-to-day routine. And not necessarily we need to go to any crazy ones. See if you can go through a simple one. Or maybe just give a glance. How would it work if you set up like 5 email, 7 email drip or anything like that?
Okay, I'll just show you a real simple example. So this is in my account here, and this is just a welcome series, right? People come in your list, you're letting them know where they've landed, letting them know your journey, your value prop, why they should care, right? It's the same thing that you do in real life when you get to know somebody. I keep my automations very simple. I try to use as little conditional logic as possible and rely more on goals. Okay. And I won't even get into that today, but let's say somebody comes in, they get a lead magnet and they get subscribed to my welcome list. That welcome list is the trigger. They'll only run through this automation one time. They get the first email. It waits a day, and I'm using a feature called predictive sending. So it'll send it to each contact and they're most likely to open it. Email 2 is a bunch of value, bunch of value. It'll wait a few minutes. It'll send out a text message. I make it very easy. Just read it top to bottom, wait another day, they get the third email. Gives them 3 days to cool off, and it'll pop them into my weekly communications list or my newsletter list. So there's the welcome series just to show you it works. Nobody knows they're getting it, right? Just like if you worked with me, nobody knows they're getting that. But look at the open rates. 75%, 77, and 72. And that's with hundreds of people going through it, almost 350 people. So that lets you know that people are getting interested in something and want to keep reading more. That's really, really high. So it's valuable. When I get on a call with somebody, I've usually hit them with 5 or 6 touch points before they get on that call. And it makes that call much easier. They have some idea what I'm doing. They have some idea what to expect when we talk, because I'm starting that relationship building as soon as humanly possible.
So this is the welcome series. When somebody joins, either come through a lead magnet or just fill out a contact form. It triggers, and that's how it starts. So when this ends, then it goes to your
either path they take, they're going to end up in the weekly communications list. And I send out a newsletter. I say weekly, man, I wish, but I send it out about twice a month. On a good month, I might get 3 or 4, but twice a month is about my average, because I blink and 2 weeks have flown by.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I have seen multiple, complicated automations as well, where people have like 7 emails or 9 emails. They say, oh, you need to have 7 touch points or 9 touch points. They're sending like the whole syndication process, how the syndication process works, how the deal works, giving the basic insight into the commercial real estate investing. So what do you think? How powerful is that kind of email drip to get people on board? It's like maybe too much information or too less information?
It's a great, really, really good question. Probably my favorite question so far, because here's the thing we all have to remember. We're dealing with people here. People are really unpredictable and they're not all the same. Where I default is less is more. And if somebody wants to know more, they'll ask. That's the way my mind works, whether you agree or disagree. I want to know bullet points. My style is just give me the punchlines, because I don't want to read a bunch of stuff. But I will tell you, regardless of what you send, people will remember how it made them feel. They're not going to remember what it said 3 days later, because we all get too much information coming at us a day. Phones, tablets, families, everything is too much. So I will tell you that more touch points is better. When I say more, I don't mean like start begging or getting weird, but that consistency really matters. It's brand awareness, right? Whether people realize it or not, they're remembering your name. Like, I get a lot of your emails and I couldn't forget you if I wanted to. I'm like, hey, I see her everywhere. I see her on LinkedIn. I see her in the email. Somebody walked up to me yesterday. It's like, yeah, I see her talking to Vinky tomorrow. And I was like, oh yeah, sweet. You saw that. Awesome. So it works. It's effective. I can't forget you because you've done a great job putting me in your head. Do I read everyone? No, but I'm like, there she is. And I remember. So I'm telling you the values and the touch points. So touch points are good. You need more than you think you do. I was in corporate America working a long time ago, and my boss is like, hey, you want to make more money? I was like, of course. I was in sales. He said, call your leads more. And I was like, I don't want to call more. I don't want to bug them, right? We don't want to bug people. And he said, if they're already not buying, the worst case scenario is they still don't buy. And I was like, whatever. So last June, actually, ironically, a year ago, I was sitting here going, I wonder how many touch points it takes for me to make a sale. And for you guys, it might be how many touch points does it take to get an investor? And I guessed it was 5, and I counted and it was 15. And I was like, are you kidding me? He was right. So I lengthened some of my automations. One of mine runs for 56 weeks, and no one ever says this is annoying. It gets more spaced out as time goes on, and it works really well. And people don't forget about me, and it makes a big difference. So do you need to put a ton of information? I would rather share a little bit of information that's palatable and then literally encourage them to reply if they want to know more. Like, if we don't ask people to hit reply and tell us stuff, they won't do it. Some will, most won't. But if you tell people to, they will. So my default move would be give them enough to, some bullet points, tease them a little bit. And if they want to know more, they can reply and let you know. Then you start talking to them. That's great. Right. That's probably going to lead to a phone call at some point. So.
Yeah, I like that. I like that analogy too. And plus, CTA is very important. Call to action in every email, whatever you're sending. At the bottom, just say questions, call me, or want to learn more, just call me or text me. Whatever way they can connect with you, that's the best way. But I have learned from my experience, talking to so many people on daily basis, people are like really, really hesitant, because they say, oh, I'm sending too many emails. I was like that too when I started initially. I was like, oh, I'm scared. I don't want to send too many emails. I don't want it to clutter others' inboxes because mine is cluttered anyways, and all day long, I'm just spamming people, just saying, okay, no, I don't want it, unsubscribing. So I don't want that happen to me. That's the reason I don't want to send too many emails. But now over the years, I have learned that why I'm paying for people to be in my database if they are not important to me, if they are not participating what I'm trying to do, they are not interested. So I start blasting out the email to everybody. I'm like, I don't care. Only people who are interested, they will say, because it costs me money to keep them in my database.
Yep.
So I wanted you to shed some light on that aspect. What do you think? What your take on that is?
Yeah. So I worked with a guy one time that had, no joke, 600,000 contacts, some crazy amount. And I was like, dude, how did you build this list? And he's a speaker. He speaks for all these huge companies, and he, it's part of the agreement. He gets the list, but his open rates are like 2 and 3%. And this guy is a nice guy. He has a huge ego. And finally I was like, hey man, your big list isn't worth anything to you. Nobody ever does anything. They don't reply. They don't buy any of your stuff. They don't, none of it. Like, what's the purpose of having the big list if it doesn't do anything for you? So list size doesn't matter. This right here, I have 839 contacts, and I'll probably break $1 million in revenue this year with this business. List size doesn't matter. The quality of the list and the engagement matters, right? And a lot of my engagement isn't even captured here. It's through text, Facebook Lives, events, all that different stuff. That's all part of the bigger strategy. But yeah, if you have people on your list, you should be getting an ROI from that amount of people. Otherwise, why have them? Why pay for it? So I agree with you there. I wanted to show you something, if you don't mind, based on what you said just a second ago. So when you guys are sending in newsletters, and people all the time are like, I don't know what to talk about, I don't want to do that. I'm going to give you a different perspective here. So here's just a template we made, and it'll have your logo and all that. But what you say kind of matters, but not really. So bear with me a second. What matters is it's another touch point coming from you and your company. And at the bottom of the email, you have this beautiful passive customer journey footer. You don't ever have to talk about it. People will see it, and it walks them right through your funnel. See how that works? So in my my capital raising business, I have a podcast here, and I have something else here. Can't think of what it is right now. And then it's the same type of thing, but if I show you like a more blown out version of it, so here's what it looks like for the digital marketing business. It's actually really powerful because the more newsletters, ooh, that's not good. The more, it's just embarrassing. Let's see. Okay, here we go. The more newsletters I send, the more good things happen. So mine is going to have more links and stuff. I always have, so I have 3 different PSs that I rotate. They're all affiliate offers or stuff we use and we promote, but I rotate a PS every week. So I always at least have that call to action. Sometimes up here, I just tell stories. I don't do anything up there. So I always have that. And then I have all these free resources, right? I have a course. I have the 20-minute call. And you can even invite me to come speak at your event, but this thing works really well. So I incorporated the same basic idea in the real estate investing template as well. And it's smart. A touch point's an opportunity, and you don't even have to talk about it. So for the people that are like, man, I don't want to be selling, I don't want to be that person, you don't have to. Send the newsletter, share a little value, share your journey, share your story, or you can do the market updates like everybody else and sound just like everybody else. But I challenge you to be yourself and take some chances with it for sure.
So I was going to ask you a follow-up question regarding the email list, how people have thousands of people in the list and a lot of inactive people in there. So what is the best way to clean out the list? Yep. And also the people, if you can show us how, a lot of people, sometimes they unsubscribe. So how can you just delete them in one shot, all the unsubscribed people?
Yeah, so there is a default unsubscribe link in Active Campaign that will unsubscribe them from all lists. You can change that so they unsubscribe from whatever list you sent an email from. So the reason that I get people into a few lists right away so they can't unsubscribe from all, right? So, and if I have a call with somebody, I put them in the nurture and they unsubscribe. I just saw this yesterday, which is really rare. They get unsubscribed from the weekly list because they're like in between lists and then automation, but so the first thing I do is I change the footer to not let them unsubscribe all, just unsubscribes them from the list that it came from. And let me show you a list cleanup tool. So in Active Campaign, you can go specifically to a list. So if I'm looking at my weekly and you were going to go to engagement management, and there's some built-in cleanup options. All right, so main list. And you can unsubscribe while unengaged, or you can do it past a certain date. So the one that makes sense for me, like nobody engaging in 24 months, they're definitely checked out. 12 months is probably a good mark. 6 months is a little aggressive. We use a couple of re-engagement campaigns that trigger it's 6 months if they haven't engaged and 12 months as well. But if I was going to pick one, I would say 12 months is a good one. But you are paying for your active contacts. So if they're not active and they're disengaged, you might as well remove them, right? So hopefully that gives you an answer.
Yeah, but you said you subscribe them to multiple lists so that they can unsubscribe for 1 or 2, so they're not 100% unsubscribed from your database. Can you show us that too, please?
How to set that up?
Yeah.
Oh boy, making me work now. So let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. This has been set up for so long. So there is, are we frozen? Let's try this other account. Okay. All right. At the bottom, there is there's a built-in unsubscribe feature. So if you want to do what I'm talking about, you basically are going to grab text and you're going to come down here and put in unsubscribe. And then this is the personalization, as they call it. You have to put it's %, unsubscribe link. And as long as there is one unsubscribe link, so if you do that and you make that a link, ActiveCampaign will automatically disable the default one, which is, I believe it's unsubscribe all as the personalization. So just by adding in that link at the bottom, it will take away the ability for people to just click and unsubscribe from everything. It's really
so this will just work for that email that you sent for that particular campaign.
Yeah. So like if, let's say somebody was in 2 lists and sometimes it's a little confusing to look at an automation and go, okay, what list is this coming from? It wasn't triggered by the list. It can be a little confusing, but it'll basically keep them from unsubscribing from all your lists. Yeah.
Perfect. Wow.
Yeah.
I think that was a good tip. I like that. Thank you for sharing that tip. So I think I asked so many questions, kind of, covered the whole ActiveCampaign. So anybody has any questions or what if something is not working for you or working for you, Jason is here. Please ask. I mean, he's pro at it.
Yeah, there's some stuff here. Can I address some of these questions in the chat?
Sure.
Okay, let's see what we got. Somebody loves you, Pinky.
Thank you.
So yeah, the newsletter provider I'm using, ActiveCampaign, will do that no problem. So Ruben's asking about texting that are affordable. It's a good question. So we've been using this sales message, and I've used Yeti Text. I've used another one, and I'm not using ActiveCampaign's built-in texting because it's one way. So you can text from an automation, but people can't reply back, which makes no sense. So it's worthless, absolutely worthless. So sales message integrates directly. It's 2-way texting, and it'll actually record all of your conversations as well. I'll try to show you, but what is going on with my account? So let me find somebody, and I don't know if they'll have anything or not, but what'll happen is down here at the notes level, if you're using text, and I haven't with this person, I'm going to have their number, but it'll record all the conversation in here automatically, which is a great feature. Sales message starts at $25 a month, and it's based on usage. And there's so many little plans and stuff, but they set up all of this 10 DLC. So that's the new texting kind of integrity oversight committee. So they're going to ask you what you're using it for. It helps with your sending reputation and deliverability, but it's not optional. It's mandatory. So it's a little bit more regulated than it used to be, but it is still not near as regulated as like ManyChat or some of those Facebook Messenger tools. So that's why I actually left that and came here. But fairly inexpensive. For what you get out of it, I think it's well worth it. I think I use about 750 messages a month. So I just use them in automation, or if people owe me money and they won't respond, and if I've ever texted them, I'll get them there, and then I always get paid. But most of our payment stuff's automated. So anyway, that's a good one to look at. Okay.
But can you send the text messages within ActiveCampaign or no?
Yeah. So I don't know why that screen's locked up. So here is an example of sending a text through an automation. So here's my account. Here's what it looks like. See if, I don't know why this is running so slow. Okay. So here's a sales message text, and it's actually, once you have the program and integrated, it's actually right over here. It's one of these customer experience apps, and it's this easy to set up. You're going to click on your little text icon, the account's link, so it knows the name of the account. Phone number is just going to pull the phone number that's in ActiveCampaign, assuming there's one there. This is a number you set up through sales message, and it'll show up, and you pop in your message. And you can do like GIFs and stuff. I never have, which is surprising because I really like GIFs or GIFs, whatever you call them. But I stick with simple 1 or 2 or 3 sentence texts. I either ask an open-ended question, either point their attention somewhere else, like, hey, did you see the email I sent you 10 minutes ago? Or once in a while, I'll share a shortened link, right? Like usually if somebody owes me money, I'm like, hey, here's an invoice, here's a link, but you could share a webinar, you could share a soft commit form URL. So those are the things I do, that I do. A mistake I see is people will try to drop a blog post into the text. And it's like, nobody texts like that. So people see it right away and go, this is automated. This is garbage. I'm not going to look at it. So just like you're sending to friends and family, very conversational. I wouldn't even worry about grammar or anything, whatever you normally do with your friends and family. So that is some good advice. Let's see what else. New to family, multifamily, want to build a list. So I need to raise capital. I've already begun. That's smart. You want to start building your list before you have a deal. Do not do it the other way around or you will not like the outcome. What are your suggestions from starting from almost zero, starting with videos? Yeah, video is great, right? So for our capital raising business, I'm just starting the marketing for that. I already have a YouTube channel. I want to make a new playlist and talk about short-term rentals. And I'm going to make YouTube videos there. The plan is like 2 or 3 minute videos with my personality, speaking in a language people that are new to investing can understand. And then I'm going to repurpose it on LinkedIn and Facebook as well, because video is great because you can repurpose it a bunch of ways. People can watch you and get a feel for you and be like, do I like this person's vibe? Do I trust this person? Do I think this person knows what the hell they're talking about? All that matters. So video definitely shortens the time needed for people to know, like, and trust you. How does your capital raising program work for evergreen funds? Well, it works the same. Like, obviously, people can invest anytime they want, but I actually work with a lot of guys and gals that do capital raises for their evergreen funds as a way to create excitement again, maybe share updates and get people to invest even more. I had a guy do a capital raise for an evergreen fund that raised like 3.2 million in 4 or 5 days. So I was like, I didn't know it was a thing, but some people do that. So something to think about there. What are the top 5 must-have tools? In my opinion, Calendly, or a calendar tool, a tool like Active Campaign that's a CRM and a marketing automation tool. If you're doing your own deals, a portal, that's 3. Sales message, two-way texting. And number 5, I'd probably go with Warm-Up Inbox. It's an email deliverability tool. And that's going to cost you, I don't know how much the portal is going to cost you, but the other tools I mentioned, about $160 a month. Gives you an idea.
But all of them?
Yeah, for Active Campaign, sales message, and this is like the plans that I recommend. Calendly's Pro Plan, and a Warm-Up Inbox, which is $12 a month. It's about $160 a month. And obviously, if you have a bigger list, the price will go up, but that gives you some idea. Yep. What do you think, guys? Information overload, or do you have one nugget you can take away and go, you know what, that makes sense, or I need to do this? What do you guys think?
I loved it. Oh my God, that was a lot of information, and especially texting feature.
Awesome.
Ruben,
Awesome.
Go ahead.
And I'll tell you what, guys, you can probably feel it, but my passion is teaching, right? I just happen to teach marketing automation to great folks like you. But the biggest challenge is, how do I explain things in a way that people understand? And sometimes I think I got it down and somebody else is like, I don't learn that way. And I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out a different way. So that challenge really keeps me going. I enjoy it. Someone's asking how to contact me. Is it okay if I put my website in there?
Of course. That's what I was going to ask you. Share all your contact information.
Intentionally inspirational. What a weird name for a digital marketing company, right? It works though. It didn't work for a long time, like in my mind, but it works now. There we go.
So to contact Jason, you can go to www.intentionallyinspirational.com.
Yep. If you want to
put it in the chat for everyone. Is there any other way, Jason, they can connect with you on the social media? You want to share that?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. I can give you that direct link. I think it's a name. So Jason Wright on LinkedIn is going to be, it's the linkedin.com/in/Jason J. Wright. Yep, I'm easy to find. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram I don't use too much, but LinkedIn and Facebook I'm easy to find.
I think that was a very, very powerful session. Anybody has any questions or or any insight that they wanted to share.
And even if you think of something later, guys, maybe you're sleeping on it, or you're going, man, I have another question. Just reach out. No worries. How much do I charge for my basic starter package? So the basic package is $4,500. The average cart value people spend with us is about $5,700. We have payment plans. You can pay over 6 months if you want to as well. But me being a marketer, there's a funnel, there's upsells, and there's different options and stuff there. But that gives you an idea. Yeah, we worked with 125 capital raisers in the last 18 months. So we're not rookies. We're not looking for guinea pigs. We use a US-based team and support you for life.
Oh, I love it. Again, one more time, I'd like to remind everybody, if you have any questions, this is your time. Kind of one-on-one with Jason. Ask any questions when your next program starts. Jason, that's a question for you. When is the next program starts?
So we sell projects. So whenever people pay, we get started with their project. But so it's not like a class or anything like that. We just do kind of a one-time project, and depending on what plan, it might take 5 weeks, or the experience with us that's really interactive may extend a couple months beyond that as well. So through Slack and that type of thing, but no program per se right now.
If there's no more questions, we are at the top of the hour. Jason, thank you so much once again. We really enjoyed this insightful session, and we'll be in touch soon. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Everybody, we'll see you next week, same time. Have a good one. Bye.